In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another session of Lessons from My Mother. Lesson number 40. We have completed 39 lessons, and today we'll do 40. And after that, I may have, interesting thing. I've done 3 interviews with friends, so that's 37. So but we've hit 40 videos. So the goal is to achieve around 90 to 100. 86 or 85 or 80 odd would be lessons from my mother, and then 20 odd would be from other friends, 3 whom I've already covered. And there are a couple of friends who I want to come on the show, and I also want them on. So we'll be doing that soon. Also, not just friends, but professional colleagues and professors and employers and bosses and so forth, or people who I've met and networked with. So not just close friends, people who I sync with on some level. For example, I have a lovely friend who lives in the US, in the DMV, and she shares how she feels about her mother and how much she values her and looks after her. And I don't recall meeting this person, but we just became friends through Facebook, then Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the WhatsApp, social media stuff. And there's so much alignment that we've found with each other, particularly on the topic of parents and about upbringing and about valuing what matters in life. So there are people like that too who may not be friends who I've known for 20, 15 years, but you just align with them with an instant. I have another friend in Dubai who I was speaking to and chat to at times, and the way she values her parents is incredible. So hopefully I'll also try to get some of them on the show and say, so tell me about your mom and so forth. I think that would be lovely. Right. Today's lesson is about ensuring respect for your children. And before I dive into the lesson, let me paint a scenario. You're 12 years old, 10, 12 years old. It's your parent-teacher meeting, or parents' evening or something, as they say in the US, but in Pakistan and England, we would say it's a parent-teacher conference. How did you feel at that time? Did you feel energized, empowered, ready to say, oh, I can't wait for my parents to meet my teachers? Obviously, it will go well. I won't get scolded. I won't get shouted at. This won't happen, that won't happen. So there are 2 avenues that come and play a role here. A, if you're a great student, then you're at least confident, well, I did great in school, so even if the parents come, even if they're not happy with me, the teacher is going to tell them great things about me. So the parents would just bite their tongue and not complain. Or if you're not the best of students, which happens to a lot of us, then you gain confidence in the fact that whatever the teacher says, my parents will have my back. At home, they might beat the living life out of me, but in front of the teachers, in front of other students, in front of whoever, they will quietly listen and they'd say, all right, we'll see what we can do. He's normally a wonderful child. Maybe we can help him do this. Rather than saying, oh, this boy is just useless, or this girl should have been sent to the orphanage, or whatever, for adoption. We should have never taken you, blah, blah. Rather than doing that, the other confidence comes from parents empowering the child with their trust, with their respect, with their love, kindness, generosity, and so forth. Go back to that time in your life when you were 10, 12, when you couldn't lie about a PTA, so the parents had to show up. How did you feel at that time? Because I remember, thankfully, I was a reasonably good student, and by reasonably I mean quite. Thank God, and thank my mother and thank my father for giving me intelligence and for training me how to refine it further and further so it could be applied properly. I'm relatively intelligent, thankfully. So I would be somewhat confident that, oh, I did well in all the subjects except that one. Oh, I hope that teacher doesn't complain about me too much. And the only complaint the teachers would make about me is, oh, he talks too much, or he runs around class too much. And even in my 30s, you can see I have this buoyancy, this boisterous energy. Imagine me at the age of 10. So I'd be running around and I'd be pushing people and I'd be playing around. I'd be doing those things. So the teachers would say, he's a good student. He's a very good student. He's very nice, very friendly, but he finishes his work very quickly and then he bothers everybody else. He just runs around and he teases them and he's like, I've finished. What do I do now? So, yeah, I was that kid. But not once did my mother say, oh, I'm going to beat this energy out of you in front of the teacher. Nor did my father. They would just listen and say, well, what can we say? He's just energized. Maybe we can find ways to develop avenues where he can channel that energy. Or they would say these things, not exactly in these words, but similar words, because I remember they'd smile and say, oh, it's good that he finishes his work quickly. That's a good thing, but we'll have to do something about that energy. And they would bring the teacher, whoever they were, into a collaborative, cooperative enterprise and say, what do you do with other students who are very energetic? And the teacher says, well, we give them more work, or we can tell them to do this. Oh, maybe we could, maybe we could give him this, or maybe you could tell him to start working on his homework. And they would try to appease the teacher in the manner of a collaborative, cooperative effort. So the teacher would say, oh, his parents are so lovely. We have devised a plan together to hone in this little rascal's energy. And she'd go away happy. And in the car, my mum would say, look, it's a good thing that you finish your work early, but do you double check it? I was like, no. She's like, what if it's wrong? Why don't you double check it? You just want to finish and run away and run. And then they would train me in the car ride home to look over my work again. And then I'd go home and she'd say, okay, open your books. Let's see if you've made a mistake. Let's see if you can, you're a one-hit wonder who solves everything in the first go. And invariably, we all have mistakes in our books. And she'd say, well, look at that. That's a mistake. If you didn't check it now, you would have lost a mark for this. So in class, rather than finishing quickly and then rushing around to tease other people, maybe double check your work. And I'd say, but I don't make mistakes. Well, you made a mistake right there. You could make one in the exam. What then? And they train me into this behavior. Of course, at 10, you don't have enough critical distance to say, oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what mum's doing. But my parents were training me to channel my energy rather than disrupting the class, which invariably I was doing. Of course, I was doing that. I was 10 and I would finish early and I'd be like, oh, what are you doing? Ugh, throw water on somebody, steal somebody's pencil, run around. That guy. And they were training me to hone that energy into something productive, something useful. And then my mum would say, well, and then a couple of months later, so are you checking your work? Yeah, I checked it 3 times. And you still had time? Yeah. Well, why didn't you start working on another subject? Oh, but it's a history class. That's okay. You finished your history work. Why didn't you start your English homework? Why didn't you start something? And they would find avenues to keep me occupied. I said, well, okay, fine. And it worked. It works even to this day. If I finish something that I'm supposed to do, I just start something else. It's a job now. It's not homework. But you finish something and you have a list of tasks. And if I have a task for Friday, and if I make room for it on Tuesday, I just do it on Tuesday now. It's just the habit. It's a productive habit. The lesson here is that in front of the teacher, they could simply say, we don't know why we sent him to this wonderful school. We don't know. Oh, we have no solutions. Oh, no. They presented a united front in front of everyone else. That no, our son is our favorite. We love him to bits. Everything that you may have a concern with, we know why that is, and we'll be able to find ways to channel it even better into something more positive, rather than giving me something negative in front of others. In front of everyone, my respect was not only maintained, it was developed at every living moment. So if the teachers asked to see my parents, I would never be afraid. Never. Although that moment would rarely happen, thankfully. But it happened in England all the time, not for negative things. Sometimes, why don't you invite your parents? We'd love to speak with them. And then something good would come out. But as a student at that point, you wouldn't know. You think, oh, maybe I did something wrong. But the thought would never cross my mind that something is going to happen And my teacher is going to say, your parents don't like you, I don't like you either. Or your classmates would say something, or your schoolmates would say something. Because I knew for a fact that they go in there and their whole spiel would be about protecting me and my reputation. This goes so much further. My parents have met senior professors, employers, um, senior colleagues. They've met all these big people. And every time I introduce somebody to my parents, that person goes away with the impression, my God, what wonderful parents, what wonderful upbringing, and how much they love and care for their child. And they respect him, value him, and cherish him so much. Every time that person goes, how do I know? Because I speak to those people later, because I work with them or study with them. They'll say, your parents are lovely. Your father mentioned this about you. And he said this, and he told me that you really enjoy my class and stuff. And they do this. And I've seen my mom do it. She meets the teacher. Oh, what's your name? Oh, this. Oh, that's the teacher. Oh, wow, he loves your class. Blah, 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 blah. Just there. Whereas they could simply say, you're a horrible teacher. He complains about you all the time. Everywhere, the respect is maintained. It goes even further. This is where the idea actually started, but I decided to start from the school analogy. Whenever somebody used to call a house, now this is, mind you, before the time of the smartphone, before the time of the mobile phone. I'm talking about early 90s, where we would have a landline. And not a cordless landline, a landline where you stand next to the line and you dial the number. Either you rotate it, spin it, or you dial the number and you wait for somebody to answer the call. So I were four boys. We all had a lot of friends, and whenever somebody would call, like my friend would call, and my mother would answer. And she's like, "Yep, hi, Assalamu alaikum." And they'd say, "Oh, Auntie is Ali at home." And my mum would never say, "Yeah, 1 second, Ali, it's your phone." She'd never do that. She'd say, "Oh, of course, 1 second. Ali Assalam, bete, come here." And it would be the most adorable, affectionate, loving expression one extends verbally. It would be dripping with honey, I have to say. And she said, Ali Assalam, bete, phone aaya, aaye. Iska phone hai. And you'd be like, and then it wouldn't matter if she had been screaming at you 2 minutes ago. Oh, you didn't clean this or you didn't study this. She'd be raging at something, deservedly. And then she'd answer the phone and she'd be, hello, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. And she wouldn't say, oh, no, he's busy. She wouldn't do that. She'd create this aura. So whenever I would answer the phone, yeah, what's up? Or because I'd be getting shut down, like, yeah, hello. And my friend would be like, wow, man, your mom's so sweet. Your mom's so nice to you. But my mom did this to me today. I was like, yeah, yeah, no, I have to go. Then I switch off because my mom would be standing. But in front of everyone, the respect would be created. Whether it's at work, whether it's in the university, whether it's at somebody else's house. This ties into another lesson that I think I did a few months ago, where it was presented to always present a united front. So in front of other people, we're four brothers, we would always be united. If somebody said, oh, your brother's fat, we're like, no, you're fat. Oh, your brother's ugly. No, you're ugly. And we'd always do that. Privately, we'd say to each other, like, what were you doing? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? And we'd fight about it. But in public, we would never, because the family is the unit that has to be preserved, regardless of whatever post-structuralist, post-modernist, post-millennium notions you might have of half-baked, underdeveloped philosophical notions. Most people who read Foucault don't understand Foucault or Habermas or Derrida or Deleuze or Guattari. They don't understand them, or Lacan, because they haven't read Nietzsche, they haven't read Freud, they haven't read Sagan and so many others. They haven't read them, but they take these notions of post-structuralism, postmodernism, and they say, well, this is how the world should be. The family unit is useless. No. The family unit is incredibly important. And one of the primary factors associated with it is to protect it from disrepute, from attacks, from breaking. We see that in the Western world, particularly the US, Canada, England, even um, parts of Europe, where the family unit disintegrates, where children enjoy spending time with their friends much more than their siblings or their parents. Those moments do come in everyone's life, but the unit has to be preserved. And this was an incredible way my mum preserved our family unit, because we would never disrespect each other in front of other people. Privately, ooh, four boys in one house. Imagine. We've broken things, we've bloodied, we've I once pushed my brother on a TV. And we broke our television because I pushed him and I ran away. So I mean, all sorts of things have happened. One time my brothers were fighting, I think this is like 30 years ago or 25 years ago, and a gold ornament fell on my brother's nose here, and it started bleeding, and it was a sharp one. He could have lost his eye, but that happened. Four boys. So at home, we would be at each other's throats all the time, and then kiss and make up later. Well, maybe not kiss, but we would make up later. Um, but out in public, united front, and that trickled down from what my parents used to do. If somebody said, like my younger brother was a tornado of pushing other kids, because he had three older brothers. It's understandable that when he'd see somebody younger, he would contest with them with the same energy. At the age of 2, 3, 4, he'd be that. He would be a terror. Some people would, oh, it's coming. We'd be afraid because he'd be used to three elder brothers. So we could take his pushing and pulling because he was tiny. But kids his age wouldn't be able to do so. But and other children's parents would say, oh, your son is such a terror. I said, no, he's such a sweetheart. He's just very strong for his age. He just has three elder brothers. He's just used to being strong and powerful. And the other was like, yeah, but my son got pushed. Well, your son pushed him first, right? No? Well, probably he did. So we do that in front of other people. Like, no, our son is fine. In the car, they're like, did you push that kid? No, he was pushing me. Did you push that kid? Yes. You know how much stronger you are than that kid? You can't be pushing children. What if you pushed him and this happened? What if you pushed him and that happened? And then at home, speak to your younger brother. He pushed a child smaller than him, and we'd say, why would you do that? And we'd push him back. Why would you do that? No, fight with us. Fight with us. Don't go bullying or pushing other people. So we'd mediate that behavior privately, but in public, the reputation and respect would be preserved. So much so that even today, it is valued that if I need to take anybody to meet somebody of value, like a prime minister or something, I wouldn't think twice before taking my brothers or my family. I would be like, oh, are you free? I'm going to meet the prime minister. And they say, yeah, I'm doing this. Oh, let's go. Just dress up and let's go. I wouldn't say, oh, don't say this, don't say that. No. I have friends, close friends, who I have to monitor constantly. If I want to introduce them to somebody, I was like, yeah, don't talk about that. I have to do this. But with my brothers, no. Pure respect. I know that they would keep my value and reputation. And same for my parents. And this is a value that has trickled down. And hopefully, when I have my progeny, my children, I'll also send it down to them. And hopefully, it maintains the family unit. But children don't know how to respect themselves. They're too young. They're too small. They don't even know the meaning of respect. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the parents to pass down the values to the child, and to make the child feel secure and valued in themselves, cherished and loved. They grow up to be sensible, balanced, empowered human beings. It comes from the parents, and I think my mother and father did a fantastic job. Of course, always grateful to both of them. But this is one of the lessons which really empowered and instilled a lot of self-respect in us. When you know somebody has your back, you feel more empowered in yourself. And then when you get older, you start having your own back after a while, and then you have them as well. So I'm grateful to them as always. I'm going to stop here because it's 20 minutes already. So this was another lesson from my mother. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I shall see you next week with another one. Take